episode is sponsored by Teamhood, a modern project management system.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on the Agile Couch, or in Lithuanian language, ant Agile Sofos. And it's me, Simas, and today we have Bart with us. Hello, Bart.
Hello, Simas.
Nice to have you here. As you already know, in our third season of podcasts, we're aiming to have guest speakers not only from Lithuania, but as well from other countries to share broader perspective and experiences. And as I mentioned today, we have Bart with us, and Bart is a leader, agilist, coach, speaker at different conferences, OKRs enthusiast, and the new book author that is called Moving the Needle with Lean OKRs. Hello, Bart, once again. Did I miss anything about you in the intro? Would you add something? Would you remove something?
No, that pretty much summarized. Maybe I would add I'm also engineer, right? So I think that would be a great addition. And it's quite important. Yeah.
Indeed. Thanks for joining me and being on the Agile Couch, on the virtual Agile Couch, as we cannot meet face-to-face these days that easily. And today we were discussing with Bart what might be the topic for our conversation. And we thought that it would be nice to have a chat about a week in a life of a product team. This is how it ended up. So before we jump into this topic, Bart, I wanted to ask you, as well as to update our listeners, what is a product team that you're talking about, that you're thinking of? What is the product team in general, the concept?
Yeah, so I think it's a natural evolution that you see from previously we had like feature teams, and then we found out that didn't work quite well. So we say, well, we really want to have a team that is completely autonomous. It will never be completely 100% autonomous because that's impossible, of course. With you still need to interact with the outside world, but as much as you can, a team that is taking their own decisions and maybe even generating their own little revenue. So that team naturally needs to exist of multiple disciplines. So it's not only dev and ops.
Mm-hmm.
So it should also be maybe security experts, but I think more importantly, there should also be business expertise inside the team. So it's like in ING we call this biz DevOps teams. So
biz
DevOps. So it's a combination between developers, business, and operations, all knowledge inside one team. So it's not necessary that each person inside a team has a different knowledge, but it could be shared. But at least all the knowledge is there to make decisions as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I call a product team, and they do discovery of the problem. They do discovery of the right solutions, they're building it, they're shipping it, they're owning it. So full life cycle, basically, from concept to cash.
So it's a team that is able to cover the full life cycle of a product that you're working with. In other terms, probably I think we have used that as a cross-functional team in other perspectives. Or would you say that it's a bit different than that?
Well, you could also say it's a cross-functional team, but then you always ask like what is cross-functional, and typically it means like we have developers, engineers, and we have ops, so it's still a DevOps team. And then but people always call in these teams, we work for the business. I'm doing air quotes for the people that can't see it, but the business. And I really hate that word, like the business. Now you are the business. And but most often these people are from marketing and sales, or are doing business analysis or something like that. But that knowledge needs to be inside the team. So because otherwise they still dependent on marketing and sales and business analysts.
So business insight, and it's not us and them. That's why we call it the product team, because we have all the necessary people and inside of it.
And of course it's if the organization is a little bit bigger, you have that basically a couple of these teams which are almost like startups within a larger company. That's how you could see it. But you still maybe need knowledge about security. You need to maybe have knowledge about compliance, regulations, etc. But then these people are more like acting like consultants, which they can inject then into the team, the knowledge, so that the team has a basic level of everything. So they're basically generalizing specialists inside these teams. They have a lot of knowledge about multiple domains, but they're never expert in kind of a vertical. They query that from other experts in the company. Yeah.
Once you were telling the story of what's inside the team and what the skills are needed, I was having a question in my head. Why, for current companies, and usually it's still quite a challenge of agreeing, let's have product teams, and still some of the companies say no, it's easier to have just developers or just operational teams, and then not even DevOps, but developers separately, operational teams separately.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Well, I think we fall in love with the Taylorism approach, like for a couple of centuries already, right? So we try to separate knowledge and power from the workers. And we still, unfortunately, in many companies, we see like, oh, we have like still big ivory architects, or we have like business owners or product owners that define the requirements, and then tell the engineers like, just build this, right? And basically the engineers are then just order takers. Blindly taking the orders, developing the stuff, ship it, and never question it, and go back to the next requirement again. And so this is so ingrained in our culture, like everywhere in the world, almost like this Taylorism, like, we will do the thinking for you, right? And developers, you just need to listen to us and do it. So this, of course, is a little bit nuanced in which company you are. And the whole DevOps movement tried to break that principle, saying no. We should, break the wall of confusion. We bring developers and operations people to each other. We set them in one room, and they should collaborate with each other. And by the way, they should also focus on business outcomes. So yes, it makes sense also to put business people inside these teams. So DevOps is like a container for I think good strong product teams, because you need to collaborate with a lot of people. And this is how you build great products, I believe.
Yeah, so indeed, I agree that it's about the culture and how we are used to. And as well, once you were saying that people are used to give orders and others to just work on these, it sounds for me like you're describing actually imagining a factory, where, or I don't know, just simple shop or whatever. You're ordering a pizza, and then someone just delivers you that pizza. Or you're ordering something and just people are working in the factory, don't caring what are the actually needs or what are the outcomes that someone wants to achieve, and just blindly doing that. And so probably that's the idea that we want to get out of. Yeah.
And we call this the feature factory, right? Where we say, these are a bunch of requirements. We give it to engineers, and then they will output it. And
exactly.
But just like a factory, they expect the same predictability and outcomes from that, right? Oh, why aren't you predictable, right? Why can't you increase your lead times and stuff? Because it's not the same, right? It's not predictable work. In factory, it works perfectly, but when you're in software development, knowledge work, it works differently.
Yeah, it's like complex environment, and it's not easy tasks to be resolved. That's why we have a need for that, probably.
Yeah, and people optimize for the wrong thing, I believe, right? So in the factory floor, you optimize for output, and you optimize for a specific flow of artifacts going through the factory, and looking at inventories, etc., inventories of parts and widgets, etc. So And we try to do the same in software development, right? So in product teams, we're looking at backlogs and we're looking at all these kind of things, but that's the wrong inventory you should look at. And so I strongly believe that the right inventory to look at is, invalidated decisions that you have. So if you have a backlog of invalidated decisions that you want to validate as soon as possible, that should be a proper backlog. But that's all hidden. It's not visible. It's not, you can't put that stuff in Jira, right? Or you could actually, but nobody's. So you should actually optimize for the speed of learning instead of optimizing for the speed of shipping code, because then it comes down to how fast you can type on the keyboard, which is not the point, right? So yeah, that's unfortunately that is so ingrained in our culture that that we still need to live with that. But I see some positive movements everywhere in the world.
Yeah, and once you're mentioning about positive movements, that's the reason why we want to have a chat about the week in the life of a product team. And so what or how does the average week look like? What do you think for that product team? Or from your experience, if you've seen that team, maybe you have any examples?
Yeah, I've seen many of these teams, and it really depends. Some of them work with OKRs, and I'm a big OKR fan, so I will first make an example with OKRs, and you don't have to use OKRs, right? So, but it makes sense, it helps. So an average week of a software development team, strong software development team, I think, is they start Monday morning with the OKR check-in, just to check, what are the business or customer metrics we want to influence with our team. They make a list of potential obstacles. They make a list of potential experiments or solutions they can try out that week. So basically, they make a mini backlog. Oh, these are the things that we want to try out. And this is, by the way, for an existing product, right? So for new products, it works a little bit differently if you want to do discovery. But this is for an existing product that's already in the market, which is already live. Right, so they want to make modifications to that product, but they want to make sure that it has, impact for the business, but also impact for the user. So they have to set their OKRs, for example, and they want to maybe decrease the customer effort score of a certain flow or something like that, which might be business oriented. And they come up with a couple of experiments, hypotheses, and they're going to maybe prototype that first. So that's Monday. So everything on Monday, quick check-in, 15 minutes, something like that. And then they're going to build it together. They're going to set up a short backlog for that week. And then they're starting together or maybe separate out with a lead engineer and maybe people that are maybe strong in UX. They're going to develop a prototype, maybe in Figma or some tool like that. Or even paper prototypes, and they're going to then show that to the team. And the team says, "Oh, that makes sense. Let's schedule a call with one of our customers." So they're going to schedule a call with a couple of customers or a group of customers, and they're going to talk about it. And does that maybe what are your problems, and try to learn as much as they can from the problem, and then that's their mini discovery. They do all this stuff on Monday, and then the next day they going to process all that feedback and they're going to maybe do some discovery, maybe try to find some hidden things that they didn't thought about. So the unknown things that everybody's blind to. So they can use a technique like example mapping, which is great, or story mapping, something like that. So to plot out, okay, what's the thing that we want to, what's the problem we're trying to solve, and how can we break it down to really small steps, by being really concrete about examples and be really concrete on the persona. So they focus relentlessly on the customer profile, and then they're going to do team programming together. So, and that sounds crazy, like, oh, this is not very effective. But if you think about, if you want to optimize for speed of learning, then collaborating with each other in a team programming session. Some people call it mob programming or Ansible setting. But this team programming, you do it together. Yeah, one machine, one computer, and everybody else swarms around it. And just you play around and see what's possible, and together you're building up the knowledge, sharing the knowledge with each other, and you build your first feature, or you develop your first story, you ship it to production, because these strong product teams, they ship everything to production, every commit they do, so they automated everything away. And then they look for feedback.
If I can stop you for a second, you tell the story from Monday to Tuesday already, but I got curious a bit. Like, there's lots of different stuff that the team would do. Like, it's not a secret that everyone is used to, stable processes and things. What we do, if we talk about Scrum, then we have plannings. From the beginning, everyone is aware. Then we have each and every day dailies, just to check on the work that we planned on the goal, if nothing changed, if we are on time. And first thing that came to my head, that lots of different ideas and events and alternatives they have to evaluate. And the second thing is that once you mentioned about mob programming, and you said about inefficiency, I wonder what is then the ideal size of that product team? Because I imagine if we have 10 people, I'm sure like 90-80% of managers would say it's a waste of time, because having 10 people working on one machine trying to resolve one experiment.
Yeah, typically they're about 5 plus minus 2, something like that. I think the large end will be 2. I've seen mob sessions with larger people in there, larger groups. Sorry, but about 5 people, because and these people are what we call T-shaped, right? So, and most of them, they have broad knowledge, so they have general knowledge about most topics in modern product development, but they have like expertise in one vertical, and so they share certain competencies and skills with each other. So most of these engineers in these teams, they have to some degree some business skills, right? So they understand how business works, they understand how a company is making money, right? So, and they understand a little bit about their customers, right? But they're not experts in defining an experiment. Maybe I know a lot of engineers that are experts in A/B testing, for example, right? So A/B testing is just one of the forms to test out an experiment. But so and I think the most important thing is that it is about the collaboration. And so yes, it's team programming, mob programming, but I think the emphasis should be on, we do this together as a team. Whereas walk in into a random software company these days and say, oh, where's one of your software teams? Oh, there's one of our software teams, great. And everybody's wearing, pre-COVID, everybody's wearing their headphones, right? Please don't disturb me. Please don't disturb me, right? I'm programming, right? Focused in our focus zone. And nobody's communicating with each other. Maybe via Slack or something like that. But if you're a team, think about the soccer team or, basketball team. You do this together, right? You cannot win alone. You cannot score alone. So if you say you're a team, you need to work together as a team.
You need to work as a team, indeed.
And not, hey, I'm working on this story and you work on that story. No, that's not how it works, right? Because, like I said before, the constraint is always learning, the speed of learning. So if 2 engineers work on a different story, they don't learn from each other, right? So so the next time they need to maintain the story that the other guy developed or other girl developed, then you're in trouble, right? So it's and one of the main principles in Lean, or the holy grails in Lean, is single piece flow. So single piece flow, you can only do that with one team working on a single story at a time. Processing it, but it's so mind-blowing for many managers. They think like, oh no, we're not going to do this, but but yeah, it is really effective. So the idea is also not only the programming part, but also the discovery part, and the talking to customers is also done with the whole team. right? Okay, maybe if you're a group with 5 people and you're talking to single customer, that customer feels maybe a little bit
Put
intrigued
into
or
the
something.
corner, like
Yeah, so maybe that does not but maybe you could separate that. So sometimes the lead engineers together with a business or together with a product person goes to talk to a customer, something like that. But over time, everybody has built up the capabilities to talk to a customer, right? Because many managers also find it really scary. No, that developer shouldn't talk to the customer directly. So why?
And indeed, I think it's very much related to the thing that you mentioned at the beginning. If we're talking about product teams, as you said, the product team consists of business people as well as any other needed roles to be covered, like engineers, people that are good at testing, people that are good at infrastructure, or any other experiences needed. So therefore, it's natural to have that team conversation with a customer, because we have someone from the business in the team that could lead and help there, because they have skills while working with people, working with customers. They know the business.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, and they know how to ask the right questions. Which kind of questions which engineers can learn from, and of course a difference per product, right? So if you're for example working in a company and you're building technical products, you're building up maybe APIs or something like that, and that's your product. Of course, then the distribution of skills in the team is different than in another team that's more maybe business to consumer focused. So and I'm talking here in this particular case, I'm talking to a business to consumer team. So in business to business, so this the mix of people, mix of skill set required difference is different in every company, in every team. So you need to check that out. So yeah.
So how about to continue on that interesting week? You mentioned how the Monday would look like, with figure out what to do, the experiments to try. Then you said Tuesday, then actually trying to map it out to the real tasks or stories that team needs to work on, like story map, and then doing some programming sessions. So
exactly.
Integrating. What's next?
Yeah, so and then maybe delivering the feature. And so on Wednesday, so also reality kicks in. Sometimes you need to patch the system, right? Because you still have a product that is in production, so you need to operate it as well. But patching should be easy, but still requires some attention from some team members. So maybe not all the people in the team can do this, but well, some other team members are maybe patching the product. Other team members can maybe do a little bit more analysis on customers, or doing some data analytics. So there's there's always some tasks that you could maybe separate or distribute from each other to be very effective. But most of the time they do everything together, and then at the end of the day, maybe on Friday, they do like a new interview with a new engineer, for example. And how they do that is the same. They used a team programming session to build up or test the experience of the engineer or the potential candidate of the new team. So that's also very effective, because then the team immediately learns how he or she is working, and that person also immediately understands how the team is working. So there's a win-win situation. You should, by the way, pay for this, right? And so just half a day, get somebody in the team that is a potential candidate. So this is a great way how to do an interview, basically, without interviewing. There should be some pre-selection. And the next day, I've been in certain situations that the whole team is going on, for example, a UX training. So because everybody needs to build up these skills, and of course, if everybody has the skills, it's easier for people to take over their work, right? Maybe if you have like a dedicated UX engineer or UX designer that also has a T-shaped profile, he or she could maybe help with some basic programming, or maybe testing certain user stories or something like that. But what if the engineers also has like a basic understanding of UX? they for small things or for small, they never need to go back to the UX person the whole time, asking questions or something like that. Well, if you're doing mob programming or team programming, that person is always in the room, but everybody has shared understanding. So so as a team, they learn new UX things, right? So that's so the whole team goes on training, and then maybe another half day of team programming again on a feature. At the end, maybe they go to a company tech hour where they learn about some new technologies that are possible that they can maybe bring back to the team. And then Friday, again doing another team programming session, and a closing off, maybe with a review and a retrospect on their week. But I also seen teams, they don't do any retrospectives at the end of the week because it's too prescriptive. So they do it basically in a Kaizen event. So they do it when it is necessary. So it's more like a post-mortem. So when it is necessary, then they jump in and do a retrospective. Like, we discovered a bug in production or an incident in production. Let's do a post-mortem, find out, and we do that after we fixed it, of course, and then continue. When they see something going wrong in the pipeline, they stop and fix that first, right? Or they see, the tests are getting slow. Stop. Let's focus on fixing the test first, and then now we can continue, because they know that every time you make the test slower, you get your feedback. You receive slower feedback, so they don't want that. And at the end, at the end of the week, they do celebration, have some beers, pizzas, make it nice, celebrate what they've learned, celebrate some successes they've done that week, and then proceed. So this is I've come across many teams that work like this, but I also came to the realization that this is not for all companies are here, right? So these are really high performing teams. They ship to production multiple times per day, not releasing to production, but deploy to production multiple times per day. So they have managed, most of these teams also embraced extreme programming principles and engineering practices, because they understand, if we get fast feedback and we don't need to worry about build processes and quality, if we ingrain this in our way of working, as we work test first, we have really almost no production issues, because the quality of our code is so high that we can spend all our efforts with our team on discovery, learning from our users, and building together, right? Which is amazing. And the engineers in these teams, they were so great, and everybody was learning. And the junior engineers that came in, they became senior engineers after half an hour, after a year or so, right? So it's also a great source of education for a lot of engineers. And they told their friends, right? Everybody wanted to work there because it's such a great environment. And,
but it really sounds like it's really nice environment, and probably everyone would be happy to be part of such a team where things are changing rapidly. You have a chance to impact the actual things happening fast. As you mentioned, deployment in production a couple times per day or even more, experimenting, dealing directly with the customer. But I'm sure that at the same time, there are some challenges with that. I mean, probably not everybody would like to have such a speed. Probably not everybody would like to have a conversation with a customer or even have that opportunity.
Exactly.
I don't know. People are not used to these things. What other challenges do you see? Yeah.
Well, it to some extent it increases. So it's great for morale, right? So you're working everything together, but like you said, not everybody's used to this way of working. So you need to hire differently, right? It's not if you're an engineer and you just everything you want is sit in a corner and program, right? Maybe that's not a great place for you to belong in such a team. Maybe that specific engineer needs to work on something else, right? But maybe he or she cannot find her place in that particular in a product team. So that's one. Next, I think is you need to get used to the responsibility that you have, right? And not a lot of people can deal with that, because DevOps is already hard because you need to be on pager duty, etc., which pressures you a little bit, right? So if you make a mistake, well,
and you're responsible, and actually
then you're
you're going to
responsible.
take.
And if that's on Saturday evening and you're having fun with your friends, well, guess what? You need to stop and you need to fix it, right? So that's one. But the other thing is that also these teams feel more responsible for the business outcomes, right? Because they know, oh, with our work we're making an impact, and if we can't make that impact, right, they feel pressured about that. So there's a natural sense of pressure. So that can feel maybe a little bit overwhelming. So yeah, it really depends on how these teams get managed. But yeah, that's something that I also see. Like, oh, they have too much responsibility sometimes, and that's why you always need to be in conversation with management and see like if you can loosen up some responsibilities. But another thing what I think is great is to reduce the workload, right? So these teams, they always shrink in size, and these days you see a lot of managers asking for, oh, we want to grow the teams, we want to grow the company, more people, more teams. But these teams are so effective that they can scale down, right? So because they've automated everything they can, right? So they're so effective that at some moment, no, the product is running, maybe they need just small modifications. And maybe it can mean that, oh, one of these engineers can maybe now be of help somewhere else.
So it's not a challenge of having lack of hands, as people used to say. We are lacking hands for doing this and that, because it's something else that they have resolved already.
Yeah, exactly. And I think keeping these teams small, 5 people, around 5 people or something like that, maybe 4. I know some teams in ING, they are team of 3, right? And they're amazing, right? But because of all the automation they have implemented, they can be so effective, right? So yeah,
I wonder. Sorry for interruption. I wonder what do you think? Then do these teams need even any kind of leader? Because from the things that you've mentioned, it really sounds like those teams should be already self-organized in order to be able to take that many decisions within that many turns in their direction.
No, I think these teams still require management, and to my I believe that a good manager should shape the system. We talked before the show about system thinking.
Yeah.
A manager should own the system or should be responsible for the system and growing talent, right? So that should be the main responsibility, and that still is true if you have like multiple of these product teams, right? Most of the time, these managers have like the grand vision. They know how everything is connected to each other. Well, okay, really strong product teams, they have that overview as well. But they also need to have a little bit of guidance about how everything is connected, because sometimes these teams are too siloed. Well, they're in their little bubble, not silo, but they're in the little bubble. And sometimes these managers can take them out of their bubble a bit and say, hey, everything is connected. We're still living in a system. So I think, and that system needs to get managed. So I think it's still really important to have managers. Maybe not that many, but yeah, still you need to have them, and you still need to have somebody that is responsible of growing people.
Maybe not hands-on into the actual things that the teams are doing on a very detailed perspective, like not necessarily have experts that are understands quite detail what the teams are doing and how everything maps into the code lines or each and everybody's responsibilities, because the teams are able to resolve that by themselves. But as you said, yeah, the systems perspective, it's quite important to have a healthy system and healthy relationship within that system, within that team.
Yeah, exactly. And if the environment changes, COVID kicks in or something like that, or some external events, then yeah, I think somebody needs to needs to understand how the system is going to react to that.
Look, Bart, I wonder how that might be related to the Agile fluency model, because once we have been chatting before, you said that might actually help to see the perspective of the teams and how the teams should evolve.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Agile fluency model, as you know. So, and I think for those that are not familiar with the Agile fluency model, it's a model that is created by James Shore and Deanna Larson, and it is not a maturity model, but it really depicts on focus on how fluent you want to become in doing Agile or becoming an maybe a product team. Maybe a product team is not maybe the greatest fit for your company. It really depends on which stage you are, etc. So I think this model helps you to understand, okay, where are we and where do we want to go with our company. So I know that you cannot be a product team tomorrow, right? Because it's great, Bart, that you that you sketch this image about how these product teams can work, but we're not there yet. And I think this model can really help you with the journey of getting there. Yes, they'll learn about all the things that you still need to do, still need to help with. So, I think if you see that there are a couple of these transitions possible, and that you understand how these teams should work, I think that makes sense. And as I see it, these teams, if you're not there yet, you need to have some coaching involved, and I see teams need to be really good at becoming a team. And that's really difficult. I think this is one of the most difficult things there is. So so how do you become a team? So working together, collaboration, how do you do that? So I said, like, team programming or mob programming, like, it is really hard to do that, right? It's not easy to work together because people are not used to that way of working. So people need to train their skills on doing that. Like, and it can easily take half a year or so to get used to that way of working. So, but that's team. You need to become a team, collaboration, trust each other. Psychological safety needs to be there. Everything to making working agreement. Everything there is to become a real team, that needs to be in place. And then next to that, I'm drawing with my hands over here, but what I'm trying to sketch is a Venn diagram with three circles. Three circles. So one is the team, becoming a team. The other aspect will be technical excellence, right? So you cannot become a product team if you cannot master continuous deployment, for example, or trying out experiments in production. It will become really hard. But continuous deployment, it's not easy to get there. It is a series of practices that you need to master first before you can get there. For continuous integration, and continuous integration is not installing a pipeline. That's not continuous integration. So you need to become really good in refactoring and unit testing, maybe do test-driven development. All these kind of things need to be in place. And so that's technical excellence. That needs to be in place. And the next is business skills. So you need to really be good at, understanding how the business works, how you can measure maybe some outcomes, and not, we're really effective as a team because we shipped 20 points this week. But can we actually change the outcomes for our customers and make an impact for the company? So these things should all be present in a team. And I think the Agile fluency model is helping and guiding you, and is also providing an assessment to understand, like, where are we as a team, right? Where should we start? What's our baseline? And which things should we invest first in, right? Should we invest in maybe team programming, or should we maybe invest in, I don't know, unit testing or refactoring, or should we focus on understanding and measuring metrics or something like that?
Yeah, business knowledge, technical excellence, and then what are the other areas might be interesting, or teaming, soft skills for our team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but there are so many things. So where do we focus on? And I think, just do a self-assessment of your team, understanding, okay, where are we as a team, and which are the 3 things that we can focus on next to get a little bit closer to the desired target state.
Yeah, it's like using. Sorry, it's like using improvement canvas from Toyota Kata. Like, what's the ideal state? What's the next target state? And what it is that we can do?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought it up because I'm a huge fan of the Odokada. But yeah, so that's what it is. So yeah, and I think a lot of people forget about, or they never learned on how to do scientific thinking and understand. Okay, this is the vision that we have with our team. We want to get there, like you said. What's our baseline? Where are we right now? And what small step can we take into the next target condition and build it up in small steps instead of, oh, let's do a big digital transformation or all those big programs that you see in many companies.
And the team that you explained here is an example from Monday to Friday. Probably it's not something easy to have in 1 week or 1 month. It depends, of course, on the situation, but it all requires probably experimentation, learning, and as I mentioned, some parts from the fluency model might help to understand what are the good first steps. Bart, time is running really fast. It's really nice to chat with you, but I wonder if you could share any last suggestions, recommendations for our listeners, if they are interested in such a model, if they would like to, I don't know, get more information or get started or even become such a team. What would you recommend? Like top couple of ideas.
I think as engineers, or it's not on purpose, of course, but I think we lost the connection with humans, with other humans, with customers a bit. So understanding for who you're making your products, I think it's a great thing to get that understanding. And if you don't have access to that, if you don't have access to your customers, potential customers, then ask maybe some of people in the sales department or something like that. Say, oh, can I maybe go to a customer and just learning from what they do, or maybe do an internship. I think that's also a great thing to do. Like many onboarding programs, they try to onboard you to get into your position as an engineer. But I think one of the onboarding programs, I think part of the onboarding program is, let's spend 1 week in customer success. Let's spend 1 day in marketing. Let's spend 1 week in sales, and building up just understanding how the company works. I think that is really great to become a successful engineer, or to become 1 step closer to a real product team, and obsess about customers and their needs. I think that's if you have that, then I think everything will follow. So but it's easy said than done, but yeah, you need to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or go to customer. I think go to customers, to customer support, and ask if you can maybe listen in for 1 hour. That will open up your world completely. Yeah.
So get closer to your customers and understand what's happening around in the company, on how we are reaching the customers, how we're creating the value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Bart. It was really a pleasure to have a chat with you. Time runs really, really fast. I didn't notice when all the time passed already. But as always, really nice to chat with you. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, on the Agile couch, and see you next time. I'm sure we can have a chat sometime later. Have a great day ahead.
You too.
Bye-bye.